Welcome, welcome, welcome everyone to another Real Lives coaching session. So excited. I have an amazing friend and coworker joining me tonight. And I'm very excited to share this evening with you all as well. I'm going to be inviting Tree Caruso Ficaro in a second to be my victim, if you will. And she is going to have a coaching session with me. As we were thinking about this, I was, going, what? Wouldn't it be great for us to show, the membership and everyone out there how we all work together? Honestly, we basically work together and we help each other in ways that are meaningful in our health journey. So Tree is here tonight to show you guys that just because we work here and just because we're doing this, we need to rely on one another, even as coworkers and people who have been doing this for a while. So, hi, Tree. You look beautiful.
Hello, everyone.
Great to see you. You look
As
gorgeous.
always,
Yay. I've been looking so forward to this.
as have I.
Yay. Well, and I was just sharing that like it's so important that people understand that we don't work here from this perspective of like I know everything and I'm not in this with you. And I said that last night in the mastery class. I say it to everybody is just because I work here, just because I've been working in it, just because you work here now and have gone through classes and are deeply embedded with the membership and all of the other amazing folks in community, it doesn't mean that we don't have to continue talking about this.
100%. And it's ironic as my involvement as a team member with the Target 100 team amped up, that was almost when I started to lose a little more focus because I was wanting to give so much to the community in my role in supporting them. And in true Tree fashion, I put others before myself.
Yes. Well, and what you're saying actually is really interesting to me because this was a phenomenon that we saw at Weight Watchers, is that
Oh,
when people became leaders, they struggled more with their weight maintenance and really found it hard to stay because I think there was this sort of spotlight. So I don't know how you feel. I was, put in that position. I'm put in this position all the time, which is like there's this spotlight thrown on you where it looks like, hey, you're now giving advice. And so from that perspective, you've got it all figured out. And I saw as I trained a lot of leaders, sometimes they did step back from oh, I'm a human person who has life challenges and work challenges. And not to mention, you work Target 100 as a second job. Like,
that was the bigger piece for me. So the beauty of this community, and especially when you're enrolled in the classes and you have that community, and I know I hold there's so much pride in being someone that helps to drive the threads of that community. And thank goodness for that community. And I never felt as if they were looking to me as someone who was modeling a perfect Target 100, 6 pillars spinning perfectly all the time. I never felt that. However, because it was a second job and because I want to help weave those threads so tightly, I put my health and wellness in the back seat. So as those realizations have come to pass, and what is it about fall? I think it's because, and funny enough, I have a degree to teach. So my body and my internal clock is so set and regimented on a traditional school year that when September rolls around, I'm ready. It's game on. Let's do this. So I'm I've been very retrospective the last couple of weeks about how it was that I got a little off kilter. I had lost 50 pounds
Mhm.
and I have found half of that again. So we are all, we're moving forward. And now I'm figuring out how to lock all of those back in again.
Yeah. Well, and that's so wonderful, right? Like to be retrospective and you were on that call last night to be retrospective with curiosity and with, this real desire to kind of understand so that you can face maybe the summer is a thing that I really want to focus on next year. And I want to do X, Y, and Z differently, or X, Y, and Z really does seem to trip me up. And when fall comes, oh wow, do I really lock it in? What is it about that? Let me get curious. And you're sort of going, it's the teacher in me. How do I bring that to how do I turn that into summer school? Right?
The other thing that I've been noticing too is, when you have 50 pounds of weight loss, there's no way you're going backwards, right? So then all of a sudden you start to go backwards, and then the shame and guilt kicks in. And all of those goals that when I was having all of that great success, and I was like, oh my gosh, by next spring, I'm going to weigh this much. And by next summer, I'm going to weigh this much. And now I'm getting farther and farther away from those goals. So it's just amping up the negative. And then it was just, how do you regain that and recoil it? But now I'm like, oh, come on, winter. Come on, January. Let's see what you got this year. Because having 50 pounds lost, I didn't think that it was possible for that to happen. Hi, the diet industry is how big? Of course it happens. It happens to so many people. So now I feel like I'm more prepared to have the awareness if that should start to happen.
And I love this. I think it's also so important to talk about that. And because I've been through so many weight regains, even if they're, whatever they are, I mean, they've been larger and smaller. And, in the past few years, like capping it around that 10-pound mark. And then, but it's that mental piece of going,
Oh,
it's so mental, right? Around like, oh, I did this already. Or and what I've really learned to do is go, oh, how fun. I get to do this again. I get to like have this adventure of learning and layering, and it's never the same. And it isn't the same. You're not losing the same 10 pounds. You're not losing the same 25 pounds.
right. I can remember going to see my doctor shortly after, before we had done the pilot course. But I had done a beginner's course that was through Zoom, but it wasn't with the devices and all of that. And I'd had some great success, and my doctor was so thrilled. And we had talked about it. And she said, the next time I see you, maybe you'll be at this number. And it was only 20 pounds less. And I was like, I'm going to blow that out of the water. Don't you worry. And I never put any validation to what she was saying. And she was spot on. That was a much more realistic goal than the numbers I had put down on paper for a hopeful.
Mm.
So now I'm like, oh, okay, yes, let's reframe this in a realistic approach and truly embrace the behavior over time equaling results. I don't need to spin all 6 pillars at the same time right now. And last year, that's what I did. I came out of the gate, all 6, locking them in. And right now, I'm just kind of more gently going back into this. The sugar challenge was key for me.
Mm.
Key.
Yeah. No, I love it. Well, I think it speaks so much. I mean, I do think like there's just the way that we've been trained to think about this is, oh, I lost this and then I regained that. And the way that I always am like, wait, you have 25 pounds off still. And
Yes.
imagine had you never done this, what would have been gained over time? So how many pounds did we never gain because of this?
Oh,
So,
certainly. Because the eating habits were just, and part of that went hand in hand with working a nighttime job and being in a restaurant and there, and not that you can't have successes in those industries, because I had done that too. But it was so great to start to see those successes and now figure out, like you said, what is the new layering going to look like to rebuild that?
and we do it in all different spots in our lives where we have to kind of like reimagine and go in and change something up and be creative with something, and we do have backslides and regressions in other parts of our lives, and places in which we have to kind of reapply ourselves, but we don't carry all of this around that. And I hope that you will enjoy the journey of the excitement too of watching those pounds come down, and don't take that away from yourself. I find that I did that
Yeah.
for a while. I was like, "Oh, I'm just re-losing these 10 pounds, and once I get to that mark, I'll finally be excited and proud of myself again." Because the brain just wants to do all this junk. It wants to tell you, and I want you to be excited about every ounce that you do lose, and or every time you maintain your weight.
Yes.
These are
I've
huge wins.
realized too over the course of the last several months, so a while back, and some of you who are watching this may have heard me talk about this, I had laminated my next 24-hour worksheets. What I've realized about Tree is I can't be that regimented.
Yeah.
If I sit down every day and every night before I go to bed and put that timeline together, it almost adds this layer of pressure and a little anxiousness.
Mhm.
So those need to go. But what does work is on a Sunday when I sit down and I do the week, that's just enough detail
Hmm.
for me to stay more on track than looking at the daily.
I love
Because it's
it.
all there. It's all still there, but it's not by the minute or, so that I realized. And I also realized that when I did my vision board for the year, at a certain point in time, somewhere around, I don't know, week 5, I stopped looking at it. So my target, and I have some goals for what I'd like to get done and some dates. By mid-October, my plan is to do a monthly vision board. And even if it's on my phone or my laptop as my screensaver, just monthly. What do I want the next month to look like? Or what do I want the next 2 months to look like?
Yeah. Well, and I just love this. I think the vision board and visualization and the positivity that comes from that, and the it being an anchor. An anchor is so important. I wear this necklace as an anchor. It was a necklace I got in Greece, and I can touch it, and immediately, even in the hardest meetings of my day, or really upset with my teenager, or I can actually return right to a joyful moment that occurred in Greece, and I've got it
Yes.
anchored in my mind. And so I think what a vision board does, especially what you can use it for in that way, is super important. So I love this plan. I also love that the whole goal of Target 100 is for you to learn about yourself, and what you've done so nicely is to go through getting this second job and putting yourself out there and finding the balance, and and searching for that, and putting it into the right space of trying the next 24 and using it for a little while and realizing, oh, this isn't right for me. Right? Every other diet we've ever been on just puts it on you and says, if you don't do this, this is the only way. And I'm going, no, this is not the only way. Now we know the weekly really works, a vision board really works, so that you're totally empowered to pull those tools out. Whereas someone watching this may be like, oh, vision boards, they never worked for me. Fine. But for Tree, they're real
Yeah.
power pack. Um, you know, I, I think it's so important to just be in such celebration all the time about what we've done right and what we've done well. And I think it puts us in that headspace to go forward. And
And yeah, and that's, you had mentioned last night, as we're looking at, our food and the fat and the protein, and to do, as we're approaching this and doing our best to focus on the different pillars and what's the right blend for me, is to do it in joy and curiosity and fun. And isn't that interesting? Let me tell you, that sign is on, it's on my mirror by my scale, because I'm like, isn't that interesting that that's what the number is today? But who would have thought that that's the biggest hurdle for weight loss, is the mental? It's not about what I'm putting in my mouth, because what I'm putting in my mouth goes hand in hand with the mental.
yeah.
You
Well, and
know,
maybe that's why that sugar challenge was so powerful. I've gotten so many emails and so many reach outs about that, just that people really recognize that the mental junk that accompanies the food junk, that it's like kind of frightening. I was just talking to someone this morning, just on sort of day 3 of her kind of really just kind of following that sugar challenge, and she was like, I literally feel like somebody poured a dose of positivity into my brain between the time I went to bed last
wow.
night to this 3rd day of just getting the carbs and the sugar and the junk out of my bloodstream. So I think like it's so interesting that that went hand in hand for you too with that.
And the other piece that's interesting is, when I was having my backslide, I was still feeling, I would feel the negative in the morning if I had overindulged in sugar. And I still was making what I feel is a subconscious decision to ignore it. And it's so, there's 50 years of habits
Yeah.
built up, and as we've talked about before, when we went through a decade of everything needed to be low fat, or, all of the don't eat an egg, don't eat an egg. Please, I love my eggs. But there's 50 years of eating habits and guilt and shame and so much of it that needs to be dismissed, that if I've had a successful 18 months and then I had 6 months where I backslid, I'm still trying to unlearn 50 years worth of those habits.
Yeah. I'm so glad to hear you say that, right? And that the 6 months doesn't negate the 18 months at all. It's a part of the learning process. It is really essential, because without it, you can't go deeper. You can't see past there's a crust layer of habits, and then there's like belief layer of habits, right? And we've been like sort of inundated with these diet beliefs for so long, right? And you're in the part now, and it doesn't feel good, but you're in the part of the learning curve that where you actually learn. you
Right.
it's amazing. And not only do we have habits and beliefs and behaviors around so many parts of this, then we have like, who are you, right? And I've known you now for many years of my life,
It's a
and you
blessing.
are a giver, right? You're a caregiver, you're a lover of people, you're an outgoing, smiley, sunshine person. And I think, we had such a great conversation the other night, even about like your kids come home and those habits and behaviors, like they're gone. And then they come home and you're confronted with all of your thoughts and feelings about what is it to love my kids. It revolves around food, and it revolves around me making sure that they feel that I've heard them and that I've got their best thing waiting for them, or whatever it is. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but I think those ideas.
No, well, and the other interesting piece there is, there's an interesting little bit of guilt that's invading my mom brain, that I maybe haven't set them up for their best healthy lifestyle. And how much I wish I would have learned a lot of what I've learned over the course of the last 2 years to impart on them when they were younger. So that's an interesting hurdle to get past as well. And, you just have to, you can't look backward, right? The rear view mirror is this big for a reason. You move forward and you do better with what you know.
I love that you verbalize that. And you know, it's your feelings are all valid, your thoughts and these things that roll by, but it still fascinates me how the mean girl, like it feels to me like I know you. I know what kind of a mother you are. I know that you gave and do give every ounce of your being and your love to them. And you're proving to them right now that there is never a time that it's too late to take control of your life, to change your life, to be to try something new. That's the only thing I see, right?
Sure. I guess I just wish that they wouldn't have to face it from that mindset,
Mhm.
that almost that they would have different eating habits had I known or done differently when they were younger. But like you said, it's a process. So we all move forward and learn from it. And they are seeing the example. Like they were so, it was the best feeling ever. Um, they're so proud of me. And that's, it's a nice change of directions there.
Yeah, no, and they're watching you and everything that you do. It's amazing to be able to influence them at a time where they understand too the influence of like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, mom, that's really interesting. I never thought of it that way. It could be habits and behaviors. It could be environment. It could be X, Y, and Z. It could be the sugars in my veins, and I'm now driven towards it, and I've got to get it out, and I have to do. You're showing them all of these things that they're old enough to understand at this point as well, um,
And to own it.
and to
They're old enough to own it.
they're old enough to own it. And um, the thing I also think, I think about this for myself because it's the most when I think when it dropped in for me, it was so freeing. Is that I actually know exactly what to do to lose weight. So I'm wondering with your experience, if I asked you to write out for me your formula, do you think that you could tell me what it actually takes in each pillar just to lose weight?
Without a doubt.
Without
Without a
a
doubt.
doubt. So
Without
so
a doubt.
talk me through that just on a high level, right? Does it mean I weigh daily, I track my food, I don't track my food, I do the weekly planner, I do
I hate tracking my food,
okay, so
but I know when my food pillar is locked in, I am between 50 and 75 grams of carbs.
okay, great.
And and what's interesting is there's rarely cravings
Hmm.
and I do typically, when my food pillar is locked in, I typically will catch myself habitually going to the pantry, or, stressful call in my full-time job, and I just need to get away. And I've started to catch that. And that's fine. We're, walk the other way instead of taking a left to the kitchen, take a right.
Right, go out the front door.
That exactly. So 50 to 75
Mhm.
grams of carbs locked in.
So do you have to track or are you kind of like I've done this
Typically
for so
no, like
long,
I
right?
have, yeah,
You're like, I got this now. I don't have to track. Great. I love that when people are
I typically I will make meals that are protein and veggie based. And then if my husband's desiring a carb, or, I'll make a quick side of something for him. But I typically don't even go towards it. It's like, Jana, if you're listening, tonight was our night.
she's
So cilantro lime slaw with my Cuban beef. And I was so satisfied.
yeah.
He ate his on tortillas, or he made himself some shredded beef nachos, and that worked perfectly. So I'm very rarely going to the carb. So when I am, I enjoy it. Like we talked about last night. If I'm heading out I'll be in Florida next week, and there is an Italian restaurant. Having spent 30 years in the restaurant industry, when I find a restaurant where the food is amazing and the service is on point, I go back time and time again.
too.
So I know that will be a place we visit, and I will enjoy every morsel of whatever pasta is on my plate. And that'll be that, because I'm not typically enjoying it throughout the week. So when I'm having it, I'm in.
Yeah. Okay. So food, it ends up somewhere 50 to 75. We don't really have to track. It's like kind of very intuitive. What about walking or
So
movement?
my walking is, I was almost down to 2 to 3,000 in the summer, just
Mhm.
very sedentary, not heading out. So I'm back around 5.
Mhm.
And I know what it's going to take to get it up to 10, but I'm really doing my best to not force hitting all 6 pillars and getting an A in every pillar.
Yeah.
So I've added a half an hour walk every day, and
Lovely.
pretty soon I'll add a second half an hour walk. And but that my regular movement will get me there.
Great. Water.
Water, I was down to about 40 ounces a day when I really looked at it and was honest with myself. Isn't that important? You got to be honest with yourself. So right now, my goal for this week was to get it back to 64. And then, in a week or two, we'll get it back to 100.
Nice.
And with that same mindset, like, don't feel like you have to have an A on every pillar.
Oh, no. And I really enjoy the slow ramp up, right? So, I had this area in the beginning of summer where I really was focused on getting my steps back, and I was trying to just add 5,000 a week, right? So
Yep.
that was just the goal. And I was growing and growing and growing. Then it got super hot. I got very busy. We went on a trip, came back, and here I am. I'm in the rebuilding phase and I love it. It's super fun for me to say, like,
Yeah.
can I get that? If it's my goal is, to hit that 90,000 steps in a week. Next week, could I hit that 95? And that's, you just spread that out over 7 days. It's doable.
Yes.
It's so exciting for me to use the Fitbit and the weekly to see, like, okay, I'm almost there. The 90 is now turning to 95 regularly. I love that pursuit of the ramp up. I hope that you can enjoy it too.
It's I'm finding that I am enjoying it. I'm feeling like I'm not putting pressure on myself. Like, there's a plan. Like, okay, our recent beginners courses have kicked off. Let's kind of follow along with them as they learn each of the pillars and make those particular pillars where I'm putting my focuses those weeks, because
Mhm.
I know what it takes. And once I get there, then we'll be firing on all cylinders. But aren't I still a great, decent human in the meantime?
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. And having fun with it, right? Like that's where and the curiosity, and it's fun, and all the things. So exercise.
so so this Monday was the day, right? The gym shoes are going on. So I pull up my phone and I pull up I'm going to do a 20-minute HIIT workout. And I did it and it was great. And I felt so good. And then Tuesday morning I woke up, I was like, oh.
Oh no.
And it felt like it was good
Mhm.
soreness.
Yeah,
But I
yeah,
was like, oh yeah, that's what this feels like. And it feels good. But again, you're on the on ramp. There's no
yeah.
need to go 0 to 60
Mm,
this week.
yeah.
So my goal is to get that done 2 more times this week.
Great.
And
And
then
so,
next,
and what's your threshold when you are in weight loss mode? When we're looking at that formula, what do you need to achieve in a week to see that coming down?
so last year when I saw my best results, I was doing a 40-minute, 45-minute cardio, kickboxing type of DVD recording 4 or 5 times a week.
Mhm.
And you and I had talked about it. I remember this, it was about 10 months ago. And I was like, it's great. I'm loving every minute of it. I don't know when I'm going to get sick of it. And you said, you'll know you're bored of it when you stop doing it. It couldn't have been more than a week later. And all of a sudden the wheels fell off. So I my goal now is to find varying HIIT workouts and people that resonate with me. For a while, Shalene Johnson
Yeah.
totally resonated with me. I love how she teaches her class. So if there's a time when I revisit it, I'll check it out. So I want to find some HIIT workouts for that. And I also want to incorporate weights
Mhm.
and do some weight workouts and kind of alternate in a hope that I don't get bored.
Great. And stress and sleep.
And when the exercise is right, when I'm exercising 6 days a week, my stress is perfect. I can typically look at everything through a lens of gratitude and peace.
Mm.
Even when it's a frustrating day at work, I can still be gracious with the people that I'm dealing with
Mhm.
as long when the exercise is in place. It's such a stress relief for me. Again, I have lavender everything all over my house from a recent trip to Upper Michigan. And when it runs low, I will be reordering. And just time with my husband is such a great stress relief for me because I genuinely enjoy our time together.
Yeah.
And time I'm very blessed in that I still get to see my dad regularly, and that's always, spending time with him and his wife is always a stress relief. And so many friends. So like typically once a week I'll get together with friends on my day off, and that just does it. It just sets me right.
Yeah. Well, this is so beautiful. I mean, I'm asking you all of this so that you verbalize it, right? We always say like what we say, we understand at a deeper level. So that's why I kind of walked you through it. And I ask everybody who's kind of watching this to kind of take an inventory of, do you know what it is? Because if you know what it is, you can achieve it at any time. It's this empowering feeling of, I do understand this. There's no mystery surrounding this. And I think it's important that we talk about the this idea of the waking up in the morning after having sugar or whatever it is, and that feeling that you get when you open your eyes of like, ugh, and then having that. It's so important for us to touch base with the things that make you feel the other way. That watching you talk about the exercise just now, I saw you light up because like you connected that this thing impacts my life in such a great way. I want to go back there. The
Yes.
other thing that we do, is especially after years and years of the eating in the way that didn't make us feel great, being habitual patterning that we thought made us feel great, is it's almost like touching a hot stove. You touch the hot stove, you go, oh, that's not working, but you keep touching it and touching it and trying it because there is a payoff, right? There is a serotonin payoff that you're getting, the night before. And I always ask you to kind of like take a look at, the touching of the stove and what you learn from it each time, and then reigniting the one that makes you feel amazing. It's because we all do it, right? Like I always talk about my
Yes.
Chardonnay and how I get it on my life and then it kind of creeps its way back in. I came back from vacation and then I'm waking up and I'm doing the same thing, right? Where I'm going like, I don't feel as good about things like life in general today. I'm just a little bit bluer because
Yeah.
I had alcohol last night. And first of all, it was the recognition that I was like, well, I don't feel great the day after I have alcohol. That first recognition was like, I was like, "Neener, neener, neener, not gonna listen, not gonna listen," for a really long time. And then I was like, it can't deny this anymore. And then it's the, oh my God, I feel so much better. I have so much more energy. I'm better at my job. I'm okay, 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 okay. But then I'm like, oh yeah, you want to have a drink? Yeah, let's have a drink. Like it's so human. But can we go like, okay, I had a couple drinks last night. Reality is, don't feel great today. Just face
Yeah.
the negative. take it in, not as guilt or shame, but as
which is such a hurdle, because
it's
the
a hurdle.
minute you do that, you had mentioned something during, I think it was during the sugar challenge, and we were talking about how, the negotiator, like, okay, well, I'm just gonna have, 2 tablespoons, or, whatever. And then you go back and you have more and you have more. This is such, oh my gosh, this is such a moment. So the bag of chocolate chips from Costco. I had the ultimate negotiation session with myself all summer long. And I'm not going to splurge and buy the Ghirardelli chocolates, because I have enough control. I'll just have a tablespoon or two, and I'll mix them with almonds or something healthy.
Yeah.
And how much more quickly was the bag disappearing? The whole giant bag. It took a couple of weeks, let's be honest, but nonetheless, it was still something ridiculous that I was indulging in, that I didn't even need or want, but had worked itself into a habit. And the sugar negotiator in my brain had me in that pantry every afternoon at 2:45.
I am laughing, and I hope everyone is laughing too. Like, I wish we could see people's hands right now for I have done it, Tree. Like
So now there are
bag.
no, yeah, but then
The Nestle bag. It's the size of my torso. And I took it down one handful at a time. Like,
well, so then I was gonna be better, and then I just bought the regular 12-ounce size bag. Yeah, that didn't slow things down at all. Then I was just buying the bag more of it. So now there are no chocolate chips in my house, unless I'm making chocolate chip cookies, which there are 2 batches fresh on the counter to take to the college humans.
love
And I actually am worthy of buying myself the bag of the Ghirardelli individual little dark chocolate pieces, and there's one a day, and it's perfect, and it's enough, and that's it.
Yeah. Well, and I just love that. Also, there's so much depth here of other things that, at least in my case, with the chocolate chips, is like, if I go in the pantry and I'm standing up and I take some, it didn't really happen, and it's so little, I don't really have to track it. Like, there's so much past stuff for me of like taking, hiding, grabbing, shoving. It didn't really happen, right? I'm gonna pretend it didn't happen. And now, like, that's that awareness that I'm always like, I just want everybody, just, it's all good. Like, we didn't kill anybody. We ate some chocolate chips. Like, but it's
right, but maybe I did kill somebody because I ate the bag that's the size of your torso.
It was, and then the recognition of, I've said this to everybody, an open bottle of Chardonnay in my house ain't making it through the night. It's not making it. Like, so I touched that stove so many times. You know what? I'll close it up and I'll put it in the vegetable drawer behind all the vegetables, and I'll leave it there, and I'll have another glass next weekend. Here I am.
But it doesn't last a whole weekend, so you got to finish the bottle within 3 days. So
that's it, right? So it's always that, is like the recognition of, okay, this is just something that I've learned that, and now I walk by that bag, and I will never walk by it again without thinking of you and giggling. But I've fully had the full conversation out loud with myself in the aisle of Costco. Like, I get this. Maybe I'll make some cookies for the boys, right? And I'm like, don't you dare bring that thing home. Don't you dare, right? So
I've even had to start a kind of started trying to do the perimeter shopping at Costco too.
Yes, yeah, paper goods and vegetables,
and my seafood.
Yeah. So no, but I think this is just so, it's so amazing, is like, being able to take a moment, be reflective, and be excited about this sort of evolution of what's happening for you.
Such a great way to frame it. Yes, it is such an evolving mindset too. Is I don't recall feeling this way either the first time I took the beginner's course or when we did the pilot, that it was okay to import these pillars into my life as they came to me, and to not feel like I had to go 0 to 100. And it's a comforting feeling. And I feel as if, I looked back at where I know some of the times that I started to maybe lose my way a little, mid-January or mid-December. And there were times when, and I don't mean to say any of this with any shame or guilt, because it's truly just something I've been retrospective about in trying to prepare to move forward. I was sick for a good 2 weeks in December.
Mm.
And then a passing of a dear family loved one knocked me for a loop. But I don't want to look back on any of those things as excuses. It's just an awareness of how do I, when those things happen again, because this is life and there are going to be losses of future loved ones, and I'm going to need to be prepared to behave in a manner that continues to respect myself.
Yeah. And I just think it's so important that you recognize that, we all have these rocky, bumpy moments in life where and usually as we look back, those are times in our life that we did gain weight, right? Whether we were actively pursuing weight loss or not, it was a moment. And that's because there is so much stress and so much anxiety and so much fear and so much sadness that, it's such a great thing that you've recognized, okay, these things are going to come again. And honestly, it's happened to me, like, and I pull a little bit away. I always call it the spaceship. I float a little bit outside the spaceship. The only difference now is that I've recognized, oh, this is that thing. I feel it. I understand it. How do I do it? How can I be curious enough to do it differently this time, or just for this one day? Could I sit and think about, I know how upset I am, but I'm going to be curious about, what if I ate well today? And what if I went to bed on time today? I just want to see how that feels in the realm of all of this, and see if I can try that today and try that more often.
And being someone that tends to, I always try and look for the silver lining or the lesson or what there is in any moment to be grateful about. And I truly am grateful that I realized that that's how it went down within the last few months. And I'm going to take that knowledge and have it as a resource
It's a
for the
resource.
future.
That's
Yeah.
exactly right. We layer it in as this experience that we learned from, and we take that learning forward, and we go, okay, I'm starting to understand that in those intense situations, I have some habits, right? In most intense situations, and there's cultural habits, and there's familial habits, and there are environmental habits that all come with these life events. And starting to face those, whether they're good or sad or upsetting or tragic. The good ones, same thing. It's like, oh, we can't go and have happy times without making it happier with food.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I would say that was one of the hardest ones for me to unravel, was like, I sat there pouting, thinking I was being deprived because I couldn't have everything I wanted, right? Because of so many years of diet mentality, and thinking like, this would be so much more fun if I could just, or this isn't going to be fun because I can't. And all that thought, I never even stopped to go like, am I enjoying myself right now? Like, I was so lost in the mud of like what I thought it should be, that it was hard to find my way. So
Certainly. You mentioned resources a second ago. The other thing that, and I think, again, if I could see a show of hands, how many of us subscription members don't go back and look at the vault of recordings. Like, I can remember Ashanti leading us through a hit workout in January, bright and early. Aaron Bigelow, me and my
Yeah.
girl, we were both there. And I know there was recently the ABC workout, and Ashanti did the I Can workout. I don't need to search anything on YouTube. I have it right in my subscription, and
Yeah.
I can go back to those. I've gone back and listened to some of your talks,
Yeah.
and use those tools. They're there to support us. They're not just there for the month that they're the focus.
Right. Well, and I do love that of like, because people are listening now and they go back and they listen, we'll put this call up and people listen, they will take so many nuggets from it. I often say like, just turn this on when you're cleaning the house, put some headset on. You don't have to watch the Zoom. You don't have to sit down. It's not like you and I are doing some like tap dance show, right? Just put your headset
Never.
in. And while you're cleaning the house, you may not even be listening, but you're listening and you'll hear something that you go like, oh, I'm doing that with the M&Ms, what they're doing with the chocolate
Chocolate
chips,
chips.
like, and so it's like you'll hear something, you'll go, okay, you know what? I'm going to contemplate my next move is like, gotta get those M&Ms out of the house. I'll give it to the kids, send them to school. So I agree with you. And the community in general, whether you're in our subscription, you're on our private Facebook group, or we're just all here to be human together and to continue to progress. And that's what I just want to applaud you, that you
Oh,
are
thank you.
always progressing. And I see your growth. I see everything that's happening for you. And, I feel like what you're beginning to understand, and that I can see it happening for you, is that this journey is not a straight line, that there is not one of us as is going to have a straight line, and that the unstraightness of the line is the beauty of it,
Yes.
and it's where the deep learning happens. So I love to see
And we had talked previously about, you pick up the half their size issues of people,
yeah
and, nobody ever really puts in bold when the journey started and when they reached that goal. Because in reality, is it 3 years? Is it 5 years? It's not 6 months.
yeah
It's not, as I was saying earlier, those food habits and these lifestyle habits that I'm changing have been learned and perfected over 50 years.
yeah yeah
50
well,
years.
and that's such a great thing, is like they've actually had to start weaving into the story how long it took, by law. They've had to start
Oh,
telling, and so you'll start to notice like most of those stories are 3 or 5 years that these people were working on it. And again, what those folks really talk about is all these wins that were perceived, right, of wins. But I think, because I've been in it and I work with so many people, about just the night that you decided not to eat the chocolate chips, like those tiny battles. And they're the hardest thing in the world. And people don't really realize the drive and what we have to go to negotiate ourselves just to go up the stairs and go to bed after, that. And those things that are missing from those stories is the heroic little things that those people did day in and day out.
yeah,
It's so
wholeheartedly.
much smaller than people give it credit for. And I'm always trying to get you to give yourself the credit for the walking up the stairs and going to bed, and not grabbing the handful of chocolate chips. That's so such a massive win. And
Yeah.
I honestly, like, I wake up, you'll remember this from college, the I Love Me song. I love me, I love me.
Oh, God.
And
Yeah.
that's I'm like, I just did that. I celebrate myself so much now. I did that. I did that. I went to bed. And it creates momentum. It creates positive self feelings, which make me want to do other things and don't make me think negatively. And I just think it's so important to celebrate those wins. That's what gets somebody eventually through this into a place where the weight regains happen. They still happen, but they happen without really any thinking of guilt and
Right.
shame. right? Like it's just sort of a part of the process. I know how to cap it. I know how to rotate right back into the pieces of the pillars that have fallen away. I know I can get some weight loss without doing anything. I've got a lot of people, they don't do any of the exercise pillar yet, and they can lose weight. Like, I'm going to
Right.
focus on what I need to do, and I'm going to enjoy every minute of it, and that's going to bring me back around. So
And I've realized too, like I would always have a post-it note somewhere that would have a meaningful message. And just like with the workout, at a certain point in time, I'd look at it and I've read that before. So now I'm in the habit of changing the message,
mm,
so I have random notebooks all over the place, be it during our team meetings or a course session. I will write down some of the things that just resonate, and those are in the rotation now of
yeah,
when I need a new one. And it could be every 3 days, it could be 3 weeks, but when that little message that's by the light switch or by my scale, when it stops impacting me, change the message.
yeah, yeah. I love that. I think that's why I'm a fan of social media. Like, I'm not a fan of social media. It's so funny. I don't love social media. Like, I'm like, I struggle with it, and I forget to post, and I want to be more inspiring and motivating and be there more often. But like, it's not my big wheel on my bicycle, but I love it personally because I do follow a lot of inspiring and motivating people. So I'll get one or two little jolts from those people, in the morning when I'm drinking coffee, or those little messages that are
Yeah.
so important. I will say the one that I think of and I say to myself at least a few times a week is, I didn't come this far to only come this far.
Yeah.
And I just love that one. And I feel like it's so appropriate for what we're talking about tonight, which is like, no, I didn't come this far to only just find out this much of this journey. I came here to experience all of it and to go
Right.
forward. And I think we all kind of think it's gonna be, it's gonna be pretty. It's not pretty all the time. It's not pretty all the
And
time.
it doesn't have to be puppies and rainbows all the time, but the more that I look at it through the frame and the reference of grace and gratitude, the more it's not difficult work. I'm not hurting myself, I'm not killing myself. The foods I'm choosing to eat now are so much more delicious than what I was cramming down my face. Like, there's just beauty and joy in most of the moments, that why not enjoy the journey? This doesn't have to be painful. We're not here to hurt anybody. We're here to enjoy this and to be well.
Mm, yeah. Well, amen. Amazing. Well, I hope this is helpful. I think we've really verbalized,
So
where you're
helpful.
headed, and it almost feels like um you're so aware, of what it is, and you don't really need to be coached. You need just to be heard in community and to be supported. And I think that's so exciting to see, like, you really have this, like, you got this 100%. It's amazing.
And to admit to myself that I have this and I've got
Yeah,
this. And
yeah,
when I am backsliding, take a moment to go, time out.
mhm,
Like, it's okay to call a timeout. We get how many per half, you
mhm,
know, it's
yeah.
okay to call a timeout.
It's okay to call time out, right?
Yeah.
Well, this was amazing. I can tell you where, people are saying that this resonates. It's so parallel journeys people are on right now. And I think it's just a beautiful, beautiful way to share that we're all working on this every day, all day.
And
And
we're all here to support each other.
yeah, yeah. And let's enjoy the journey no matter what it looks like.
Awesome.
Yay.
Thanks.
Thank you, Tree.
Thanks
Thank you,
everybody for
guys. Great to
watching.
see you tonight. And we'll put this recording up if you want to listen to it again on one of your walks. Yay, Jana. Good to see you. Awesome. And we'll see you in the membership and on Facebook.
Have a great night, everyone.
Thank you,
Good night,
Tree.
Lizzie.
Bye.